All right, so our next storyteller is another one of the creators of this show, my good buddy. He's coming to you live from Weehawken, New Jersey. You might have seen him at the Moth. He's also performed on Nights of Our Lives at the Magnet Theater, and he has a solo show that he debuted in the fall called A Public Private Prayer. We hope to get to see again soon once theaters reopen here. So please welcome to the stage, Mr. Grant Bowen.
Hello. Hey, everybody. Thank you, Will. By the end of my junior year of high school, it started to feel like my accomplishments started to matter more. And that's because the end of your junior year is the time where you start applying to colleges. And I think this is a stressful time for just about anybody in high school at this point, because every adult in your life feels like they have free reign to interrogate you about your future. Like pretty hardcore, like, where are you going? What are you majoring in? What's your plan? It can be really stressful. And my parents weren't helping because they made it clear to me that it wasn't just going to be a matter of where I'm going. It's going to be a matter of how we're going to pay for it. Like, they told me straight up, they were like, look, we have some money saved up for you from like since you were born, but that's not going to cover all of it. You're going to have to get like a couple of scholarships to see it through, and that's going to be on you. And I was like, oh, thanks, Mom and Dad. I didn't have enough pressure on me at this point. Thank you so much. That's why I thought it was going to be a good idea for me to join the National Honor Society. I know I had the grades to get in, and I knew that that was something that would look good on scholarship applications. So we're filling out the application, we're looking at everything, and one of the prerequisites to get in was for me to do a certain number of hours of community service or volunteer work before senior year. So we immediately just started looking for places that were looking for help for the summer in town. And about a week later, my parents come up to me and they're like, so we found somewhere. It's called Covenant Place. It's an assisted living facility, and they're looking for volunteers for the summer. And I was like, oh, great. What's an assisted living facility? And they're like, well, it's kind of like a nursing home, only like there's less restrictions. The residents can come and go as they please. They don't need as much medical attention. Of course, all I hear is nursing home. And I just go, oh, great. I got to spend my summer with a bunch of old people? Like, what are they expecting me to do? Like, a spoon applesauce into someone's mouth going, oh, tell me about the 40s. But I think, you know what? If I want the scholarships, I've got to join the NHS. And if I want to join NHS, I got to do this. Like, I got to do what I got to do. So I apply at Covenant Place, and we arrange that I'm going to start working there for the month of July. Now, my first day driving there, I had this real sense of dread. Like I was sitting there like really anticipating something kind of gloomy and sterile, you know, like a hospital or a funeral home or something. But I park my car and I get out, I'm walking to the entrance, and I walk in and I see that the walls and the carpet are these really warm, inviting colors. And they have all these cool event spaces and this beautiful dining hall. And everyone there looks happy. The residents, the staff, the visitors, like no one looks gloomy at all. And I was like, this is not what I was expecting. So as you can imagine, my responsibilities as a volunteer were kind of small scale. Like I would help out with lunch, I would set up for special events, but my primary responsibility was to visit with the residents. That was it. Like I would get there beginning of the day, I'd have a list, and they'd be like, here's who you're seeing today. Just spend about an hour at a time with them, like sit with someone. Once that hour's up, just move on to the next person. So I spent my day roaming the halls of Covenant Place, all the doors open, echoing the sounds of The Price is Right. That's not an exaggeration to be funny. Every single TV was on The Price is Right, a show you forget exists unless you take a sick day. You know, like Drew Carey didn't go anywhere. So, but I was surprised again, because once I did go into a room and visit with somebody, I was amazed with how interesting these people were. Like sometimes they'd want to sit and just talk to me. Sometimes they would teach me a game like dominoes or card games or whatever. And sometimes they just wanted someone to sit quietly with them and watch The Price is Right. And I don't know if you've watched that show in a while, but it's a fun show. It's a really good show. There's a reason it's still on. And what really blew my mind were the moments where they would want to know about me. They'd ask me questions about my life and who I am and what life in high school is like. And don't misunderstand, I was this concert choir, drama club, movie nerd kid who was just looking for social acceptance wherever he could get it. No one was taking this kind of interest in me at that point in time. And it meant a lot. It really did. And there's one resident in my mind that kind of sticks out in particular. Her name was Anita. And I was warned ahead of time. Look, Anita has Alzheimer's, but she likes to paint. So sometimes we will let her take out her paint set and paint while we're overseeing her. So if you do that, just make sure you put her paint set up by the end of the day, or else she'll get confused and make a mess. So I would go in, sit across from Anita. She'd have her paint set out. She'd paint these like really beautiful scenic pictures in front of me. And as she would do this, she would tell me these stories about her life and her family. And she would often repeat these stories about her life and her family. But somehow back then I knew in my gut that it wouldn't be right to silence her. Like I shouldn't correct her. I shouldn't tell her she's already told me something. Because I guess somewhere in my head, I just thought, if she remembers this well enough to want to tell me about it, that's got to mean something, right? And there were a couple of times where once I was done with Anita, I would hear a nurse come in behind me and they'd be like, "Here's Terry, he's here to visit." And I would turn and look and there would be this tall, older, like solemn looking man. He would stand there for a second, not say anything. And then he would walk over to the couch by Anita's window and sit down. And then she'd sit down and start talking to him. And after a couple of times, I talked to the nurse. I was like, "Hey, what's the story with Terry here?" And the nurse said, "Oh, Terry doesn't talk anymore, like at all. But he likes visiting with Anita, so we'll let him come over and sit with her for a little bit." And I turned and looked back and saw these two sweet-looking older people sitting by this window and was just amazed that two people who had lost their ability to connect with the rest of the world had somehow found a way to connect with each other. And that idea, those connections, that's kind of reflects what I took away from my time at Covenant Place. See, I went in there and I was looking for something for myself, something to gain that would make me look good on paper. But by the end of that month, I walked out with an empathy I didn't even know I had. Thank you.
Very nice.
Very nice. Very nice.
Thank you.
All right. I love that story. I feel like everybody has that experience. Like the first time you go to a nursing home or assisted living facility, it's just like you always dread it, right?
Oh, yeah.
But then, I mean, after you spend a little time there, it's like there is a sweetness there. And I'm glad that you found it. It's a really lovely story.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you. Thank you.
Tears to my eyes.
Someone's getting a phone call. What was that?
No, definitely brought some tears to my eyes. But also, when you first started and you said Covenant Place, I was like, ooh, this sounds like some Interview with the Vampire shit. Like, what's...
I know, right? It's a creepy name.
Very beautiful story, though.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, Grant, what have you got to plug? Where can people follow you?
You can follow me on Instagram at jgrantbowen. And then otherwise, just, hanging out in existential dread out here in Weehawken. So just keep holding up the fort here.
All right, great.